UFC 303 this Saturday in Vegas. Could it get any better? It sure can when you get in with my partners, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. It is a banger of the card, and the light heavyweight championship is on the line in the main event. New to DraftKings? Check this out. New customers who bet just $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. When you sign up, use the code Sonnen. DraftKings, the crown is yours. That's right. New customers can bet just $5 on anything and receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. From the much-anticipated title fights to the exciting undercard bouts, DraftKings is giving customers a shot to get in on the action all night long. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you got a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers, use my promo code Sonnen. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The toe of Conor McGregor and why on earth it is still being talked about. Well, you might ask yourself that, but allow me to answer you. For example, you got Joe Rogan has defended it. Alex Pereira has appeared to defend it. Two different ways you could interpret what Pierre said, but I think he was defending it. And a couple of other fighters as well. And largely the statement comes down to just having heart and saying, hey, somebody doesn't have to get into something as hard as this against someone as good as Chandler when they're hurt. That's true. I don't know that anybody would disagree with that. But the support of pulling out of a cage fight because of an injured pinky toe, they're fainting. They don't mean it. I had to live through this one other time. It was the last Olympic Games, and it was Simone Biles. She got over there and she pulled out. You had these other gymnasts who 100% of them, with no exception, were disgusted. They could not believe that this happened, that a leader of a team, and it only comes along every 4 years, and there's only so many opportunities, and one is going to you, and you're pulling out due to a mental, you call it weakness, do you call it lapse? She admitted she was not physically hurt, that it was bothering her. She was having these thoughts on her mind. I mean, do you guys remember this? And they were defending her left and right when they would come out publicly. I remember standing back going, wait a minute, I know you, and I actually just hung up the phone with you, and I'm on a text thread with you. None of them meant it. It was the most insincere, but they didn't say it. It was one of these interesting things, and that's okay. Like, you can go out and be polite. I was just surprised that all of them in unison were. It was as though somebody who was holding the camera told them before they went on, here's the line that we're taking. Because it was so wildly opposite of what every one of them felt. And the reason I'm telling you that this is still a topic within Conor McGregor, it's not because he pulled out against Chandler for the toe. And when we sit and poke fun at him and go, okay, listen, you're in rehab. You don't actually have a bad toe, right? Like, that isn't the point either. That's just commentary, and you're just talking to have fun. The reason it's relevant is it's very hard to imagine something smaller than a pinky toe. It's hard to imagine, of which may or may not have been broken. It's just hard to imagine. And the reason it's relevant and important is not because the fight is off or the fight has been changed. It's your guess to the future. Does the fight ever get remade? If a discolored pinky toe, like, is there a realistic scenario where you believe you could go through a training camp, you could have guys of this age on the backside of 30, training and working and going hard? Is there a realistic scenario where you believe that whatever the date, whenever that rolls around, they could enter fight week with less discomfort than a discolored pinky toe? Like, there's a big belief within the commentary of, hey, Conor shouldn't have to fight with that pinky toe. And that's a real advantage to Michael Chandler. And the belief becomes that Michael Chandler feels great, which of course he does not. Michael Chandler has ailments, and he's hiding them. Every fighter on the card has ailments. There's a game. And ultimately, under penalty of perjury, you're going to sign a form through the commission, which is overseen by the Attorney General's office, which works at the pleasure of the governor. Like, it's a really big deal. that whatever your story is, you stick to it. So all the guys in all 11 fights are going to say that there is nothing ailing them and they all feel great, and then they're going to sign. Of course that's not true. That's ridiculous. How would that possibly be true? How could you possibly train for a cage fight where you're either doing jiu-jitsu, which has two recommendations: break a guy's limb or strangle him unconscious? Those are the two things that you're trying to do in jiu-jitsu. How could you possibly train on the day of boxing? No matter what the gloves and what the headgear, and you might even have somebody come and put Vaseline on you. How could you possibly be punched by another trained puncher for an entire day, of which once you make it through, you come in the next day, and that's going to be kickboxing day. Now you're going to do the same thing except kicks are at it, and then the next day we're going to come in and we're going to spar MMA. Like, how within that process would anybody come out and feel good? So now that we understand that they don't, we have to ask ourselves, okay, everybody's banged up. Everybody's going to hurt. Everybody's going through the same tough, grinding process. Is there a reason to believe we could show, because see, everybody's got a breaking point too, right? Like what one guy can deal with, I'm not saying that everyone else has to deal with. Conor McGregor teased me for tapping out to strikes. I don't know if that's actually true, but he teased me but that's his point. So now he's disclosing, I would never do, like whatever it was that would happen, I would go unconscious or I would be split open. I'd make the referee pull. I would never tap in that situation. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I would never complain if I had a hurt pinky toe. I would never pull out of a fight. But that doesn't make me the tougher guy or Conor the tougher guy. I'm sharing that everybody has their point. So the reason the toe is such a big deal and it's being talked about still is, can we reasonably believe they're going to have less than a discolored pinky toe the next time the fight rolls around? That's the question that we're asking. Now that we know what your breaking point is, now that we know what your level of discomfort that you can push through versus you got to stop, and now that we know that it's a pinky toe, is there any reason to even discuss rematching that fight? Because there is not a realistic scenario where you can go through the training and or preparation and we could expect there to be anything less than a pinky toe. That's the reason it's relevant. And the hell am I to judge, right? I'd be a great judge had I had that injury. I would be you want to know oh my goodness, the worst pain, I had a rib that went out. Some people would think that's not a big deal. Like, you go to the doctor, they can't put it in a cast, there's nothing they can do, you just got to live with it. But it was hard to do anything. It was hard to get a deep breath. One of the other great pains I've ever had was just a broken finger. Oh my goodness, it hurt so bad. So I'm not saying like it's got to be some big body part. I haven't dealt with the toe. I don't know. I know Rulon Gardner got stuck in the woods when his snowmobile broke down, got frostbite, had to have 3 of his toes chopped off, came back, tried to make an Olympic team. Like, different guys are going to deal with it in different ways. I don't know that I tapped out to strikes. I don't know if that actually happened. But apparently Conor is the type of guy that would not. I wouldn't judge it. But you're going to have to give it a look. And you're going to have to understand why this topic is still here. And you're going to have to ask yourself, on one hand, when Conor said, hey, we can do this thing, we can do it in August, and you have Dana coming over the top of it and saying, I got my cards filled up in August, and I'm not changing them, and he's not part of it. Like why is there this push and pull? What is the reservation? If in fact it is a toe, and we can talk to doctors and they can tell us with very good belief exactly when that toe is going to be healed, why could we not just look at a calendar and book it? Well, there's the answer to your question. Is there any reasonable belief that going through the preparation for a sport like this, you could show up with less than a hurt pinky toe? No, there's no reasonable belief you can do that. Is there any reasonable belief that of the 11 fights you're going to see Saturday, any one of them, from main event to curtain jerker, is more uncomfortable at this very moment in time than a discolored pinky toe? No, they all are dealing with something and will lie and take it to their grave just to have this opportunity and just to collect that paycheck. So, unless you're going to wrap them in cotton, is there a way to rebook that fight? Having the information that you're armed with now. You do what you want with the statement I just made. I'm simply sharing with you why Conor and the pinky toe is still being discussed.